Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
The last time you were on was for Sunrun.
Yeah, when I just started.
We just started. Before that, obviously, was with Thrive.
Yep.
And then this is the third time, yeah. But the cool part about this one is that we're changing up topics here. We're not talking about solar. We're not talking about chiropractic or physical therapy. We're talking about parenting.
Yeah.
And this is a hot topic, specifically in people who are, really obviously high-performing professionals, business owners, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So, before we got rocking here, you just started to talk about how, last night. I'm gonna let you quote what you said. Last night,
yeah, really.
Hands were up.
My hand. It was. I think it was 6:45.
Yeah.
Which anyone who has a toddler or a young kid knows that that's getting close to the end of the second shift. It's like the second half in basketball. you know you're close.
I get it, dude.
You're close. You're almost there. It's almost done.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, it just chaos ensued, and I just looked around questioning every decision I've ever made. Was this the right decision that led me here?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So now with that said, though, so let's take a step back. So now obviously you have two beautiful kids. You have Roman, who is...
He's 4 months tomorrow.
4 months tomorrow. And then you have Rocco, who's 2 years.
He's just about 2.5 now.
Okay, 2.5. Got it.
I don't play the whole month thing. Once
they're
2 years old, they're 2.5, or 3.
Well, for me, it's 1, right? I don't want to be... He's 13 months. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, how old is he? I'm like, he's like a year, like a month or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's 13 months. I'm like, whatever. He's a year old.
He's a year.
He's a fucking year old.
2.
He's not like... It's like the kid's 30 years old. He's 170 weeks old. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. But anyway, so... Now, you at the time, right, were when you guys had Rocco.
Yes.
You were still in your former career, right?
So
you were on your way out of it.
I was literally.
It was like
I signed the paperwork for sale of my business on the 12th of August.
Yeah.
And we went into the hospital with Rocco on the 15th.
Oh my God! Okay, so it was super right then.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we were the process of selling the business, which does take a few months to finish out negotiations and paperwork and all kind of stuff. We were on the end of pregnancy, knowing we were having our first kid. Yes.
Right. So I have a question for you, and I get this a lot for business stuff, right? But obviously today we have our parent hats on, right? Mine's invisible, but here's the parent hat.
Mine's there.
Yeah. So with most parents, I feel like people don't ask this question enough, but how are you?
That's a good question. I would agree with you that most men don't ask other men,
how are you?
How are you?
Yeah. That's a good point.
We do, and most men don't really ask
those questions.
Women, how are you either? Because we just we all just buckle down, let's get through it.
Let's do it.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Now. I'm good. Been a few kind of breakdowns in the beginning of having the second kid with my wife, and the communication between me and her maybe isn't perfect at those times.
Yeah.
And we battle a little bit because we have different expectations and different parenting styles and what each of your role is with the kid, and I think the biggest problem for men is most men aren't emotionally sound. Our emotional IQ is not as good as our business or solution IQ.
I would agree with that.
And women are the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Some women can blow us out of the world and out of it in both of them. Some women are really high IQ in both aspects.
Right.
But they blow us out of the water in emotional.
Right.
So I think that a problem is, too, that we don't really realize how much emotional our wives go through during this time. We focus so much on ourselves selfishly and solution driven.
Yeah.
So when your wife's freaking out postpartum and she doesn't know why, you're trying to get to the root of why and trying to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And there is no problem to solve because they don't know what the problem is because they can't figure it out because their body's haywire.
Totally.
So when I couldn't wrap my brain around that, I was not good.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't back to myself. So if I wasn't back in my routines, I felt like I couldn't be a good dad. When not realizing that the best thing I could do for my family at that time was to pretty much forget about my routines, what I needed, this, that, whatever.
Right.
And just realize that it's going to be a short period of time where I'm going to have to make sure that those three are my number one.
Correct.
And I'll figure out my stuff as we go.
Yep.
And then that time passed. It was frustrating, and we argued, and it took me some maturing to understand that.
Yeah.
And then literally for the past 3 weeks now, since the new year started, I've been able to get back to my morning routines.
Yeah.
I have those anchors in my life.
And you're getting it, dude. I mean, obviously we're in a group text, and you're there at 5:30 or probably earlier.
Yeah. It's that's the most important thing. Like, my wife and I sat down before the new year. I know you and your wife do the same thing. Write out goals.
Yep.
And you have financial, personal,
right,
and fitness goals. They all coincide. They
all
go together. And
they all go together.
We each have separate ones, and then we have one that we want to do together in each category.
Right.
And like literally, that was my non-negotiable. There was like, I need to get back to the gym at 5:30 in the morning, and she was like, "Fine, I need to get to the gym 5 days a week." And I was like, "Cool, we can make both of those work, but we need to come up with a plan."
Right.
And we did, and we are, and the plan's kind of working right now.
Good.
And it's going well, and
one of the things. So I love that you said that, and I think one of the things that too many times parents we find ourselves in. We have one of our clients, Danielle Cabral, who's the Real Housewives of New Jersey lady.
Yeah, yes.
She said something to me that's profound, and she wasn't even like trying to say this to be like motivational at all. She was just like, because she started Bougie Kids, it's a kids clothing company.
Okay.
She started it a couple years back, started having, had her second kid, and then stopped doing it because like everything took over, the kids, whatever, right? And she said that she felt like she lost herself, and when she reignited the business again, it was like that was like her thing, and like that was her anchor, right? It's how she found, like, she wants to re-find herself. She loves being in business, loves to get out there and doing to you, and like you in the gym, and like the things that matter to you in your mornings, and to set you up for success. The thing that's so interesting is that there's like two school of thoughts, at least from what I've seen, doing this for like 5 years now at Breaking Barriers. And before I even had kids, I would ask people that question, like, what's the balance? How do you find this? Like, how do you whatever? And I would say like a resounding like 8 out of 10 people would be like, my whole life goes to my kids, whatever they need, whatever they want, my wife, my kids, whatever, 8 out of 10, right? There was probably a handful of people out of like hundreds of podcasts that I've done. One most recently that was like, he goes, I don't live for my kids. He goes, I live to be the best person I can be, and so that they can see me just kicking life's ass and want to be like that. And it was such a different perspective, and I was like, damn. Because like my mentality, even right now, like John, I have Johnny obviously, and like I would do anything for him. Like I'm obsessed with him, right? Now, I also understand and know, having, being the oldest of 5, seeing my brothers, my sister growing up and stuff, I had to step up early, and in certain situations, and they don't fucking listen, kids. They don't listen. They always do the opposite. Mm-hmm. But they do watch you and mimic your actions. Yeah. So what he said to me is that's what I heard. He said, I'm not going to go there and tell them to be this perfect person and do whatever else. I'm going to show them, right? So I'm not going to stop going to the gym. I'm not going to stop going to, whatever, things that matter to me, right? He's like, I'm not going to stop doing it. He goes, I never have. He goes, I never will. And it gave me this different perspective where I was like, damn, like, that's what I want. Like, I want a balance between the two, right? Because I'm sickly obsessed with my son, like sickly. But like, I also want, like, I don't want to ever be like the dude like who gets fucking fat, starts losing his hair, stops taking care of himself. And so many times that happens because of what we just talked about, what you just said, right? Like, hey, it's a short period of time. Some people never go back. Yeah. They say, okay, right now I know what I have to do. I have to be here every morning, all throughout the night, whatever else. And for my wife and for my kids, and vice versa, women too, with men. And so we put all that on the line, and then we compromise what we think is a short-term thing. Yes. And in most cases becomes a long-term thing, right? Where it's like, you stop working out, you start eating like shit because it's easier, you start doing whatever. And then next thing you know, 10 years goes by and you don't look what you wanted to look like at that age before you had kids. You don't feel the way you felt. You're not doing the things you wanted to do. And then next thing you know, your life is just taking a completely different shift. So when I heard him say that, like, I was like, wow. Like, in order to be the best parent I can be, I have to be my best version of myself, which is similar to you. My mornings are totally my anchor, dude. Like, I was just saying this, with Megan, where I literally, if I'm not like meditating in the morning and like working out and doing the things that I need to do, my day's all jacked up, like jacked up. And I know when the twins come, right? Because I have twins coming in April. it's gonna be a whirlwind. So yeah, by that time, Johnny's gonna be running around, right? and then we have 2, right, that are that age. So like everybody, like we're now zone defense like overnight.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so, but I know for the first few weeks, like, and I told Jacqueline this already. I was like, I have to for the first few weeks. I'm gonna literally be 100% like hand and foot with everything that we need to do here. And I was like, but between those first few weeks, I'm still gonna figure out my schedule. Like I'm still gonna do it. And with Johnny, I did it, right? Like, and it's different. It's way more intense now because it's 2 more on top of him.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that guy and what he said?
My eyes were kind of lighting up while you were saying it because I've never said it like that. And now that my son is 2.5, I'm starting to watch him do things and say things and have motions and actions that I do. I've always kind of done it like food-wise. My kid likes a snack. He's hungry. He likes to eat. I like to eat.
Right.
I'm big into it. Rewind to a year ago. A year ago, I was the heaviest I ever was. Rocco had just turned 1 in that August, so he was now perceiving things and seeing things. And what I saw that he saw was a very overweight and out of shape dad. I was 235 pounds. Doesn't seem really big, but I was 235 pounds. I'm about 6'1"-ish. Maybe on a good day with my boots on. And I was 235 pounds. I was fluffy. Like, I was seeing pictures of myself, and it just made me feel really bad for him. Because the example I was setting for him was not good.
Right.
It was eating whatever I want, whenever I want it.
Right.
Relaxing a little too much, maybe drinking a little too much. And it probably came down to that comfort thing. And then it switched in my brain where I was like, okay, can't do this anymore.
Yep.
Because he's watching.
Totally.
He's watching everything I'm doing. And what that other gentleman said is 100% correct. That's how I live now. And I do live for my kids. I'll do anything for them.
Yeah.
But I think the number one thing I can do for them is be the best example of what I believe a man should be for them and what I want them to be. And it comes to everything. So I signed up for my first bodybuilding competition literally 2 months after the year started. I signed up. So I was like, I got to do it. Yeah. So I did it. I lost 50 pounds. I got in the best shape I've ever gotten in my life. And then I decided from that point forward, I would never let myself get there again.
Right. Which, by the way, you look sick.
Appreciate it.
Fucking Rambo.
Yeah, it was you were
shredded.
It was so hard to do. It was so difficult to do. But I'm so happy that my son, and I have some pictures of it, like, because when you're doing that, you're checking in every day, you're taking pictures, you're posing, and I have a couple pictures of him watching me, and then I didn't realize how much he was retaining until his like second birthday rolled around that summer. Right. And like he would come up to me randomly and be like, "Show me your muscles, Daddy," and he would pose the poses that I was doing that he was watching. So I'm like, they watch it.
How cute is that, man?
Oh, it's the best.
Seeing him do that, seeing you.
It was so great. And then knowing Britt was pregnant again too, and that once we found out it was another boy, we were gonna have 2 boys.
Wait, so just for people who don't know this, was Roman planned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Roman was planned. Rocco was planned. I was just talking to your wife about this. It's crazy. We were the couple that was no kids. We got engaged, got married. We didn't want kids. We had 2 dogs. Like, we were cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
No kids.
You're like, I don't want kids.
Don't want kids. We didn't want them.
Really? So what changed?
We were just, I don't know really what it was. We never really had a conversation about what changed. Maybe we were thinking into the future and like, because we spent a lot of time with, Brittany's family, and it was always like a Sunday night dinner type thing at the table, and like the kids were there, and like we were looking one day and we're like, well, our Sunday night table is going to be empty. Yeah. And I think that's where it hit us. We're like,
it's a big realization.
We need to have kids.
Yeah.
And we thought we wanted to have kids, and then boom.
Yeah.
So we did.
Yeah.
So
what do you want your kids to like remember you by? Like if like you're like picture this, right? So this is a new thing. Me and Rob just actually started to implement this the last Breaking Barriers podcast, but I asked you this early, and you've been on twice, and I've asked you variations of, but this is the new one. So anyway, I'm gonna paint you like a little picture, like a movie here. But picture you got Rocco and Roman, at your gravestone, right? And so you and Britt are no longer a thing, right? You guys are dead. Right?
Yeah.
So it's Rocco looks at his son and our daughter or whatever and goes, man, I wish you got to meet Grandpa Joe. He was really blank. Like, what do you want them to say about you?
Maybe not in like one word or one adjective. He was really, the one thing I want them to say is he's really present. In whatever I'm doing, I'm really focusing on really hard this next year on being present in every single thing I'm doing. Whether I'm being a dad, whether I'm being a husband, whether I'm being, quote unquote, the boyfriend for my wife, because we're out on date nights trying to keep to go present. But I think the most important thing to me is my Grandpa Joe was never afraid to do something that was hard. Because I feel like ever since I found out I was going to have kids, once we changed and I knew I was going to have kids, it just became a lot easier to do really, really difficult things because the reason is you're an example. And I don't want my kids to be lazy. I don't want my kids to give up. I don't want my kids to not try at the really, really hard things. Because the really, really hard things that I've done so far have changed my life so much.
Dude, and honestly, they have to, even though they weren't there at the moment, I think it's important that you make it like a thing as they get older, like about how you left your business to start something completely different at a time where you're about to have a kid and all of that. Like that's such a difficult thing to do. I know probably that's a 1%er move, right? Because at the end of the day, whether you're happy in that other situation or not or whatever, it was stability, right? And you're about to have a family. Yeah. So it's fucking crazy for most people to even consider that, right? Like bananas, right? So like that's a testament to what you just said. Like most people would not have done that. But you made that move because you did it for yourself, for your family, and you knew that it would be harder, but just because it's harder doesn't mean you're not going to do it. And I think that's so like such a good lesson, right? Because they couldn't see that. If they saw that, it'd be the fucking golden lesson, right? Yeah. But they have to know about it because if they don't know about it, then they'll never know, like, that's the guy he was. But it's just such a good example is what I'm trying to say. It's such a fucking good example of that. And it's so difficult, man. I look at, now did you grow up like knowing your grandfather's around for you when you were older?
So, yeah, they were around so I wasn't close. I come from like a divorced family. So like technically I have 4 sets of grandparents. Oh, wow. Okay. Because that whole like divorce, this, that, whatever. I was only really close with my mother's parents. Right. So that was my mother's father. Long story, adopted, not really her parents, but whatever. They grew up as her parents. Right. So they were my grandparents. That was my grandfather. He passed away when I was 16. Okay. So he was the one I was the closest to. I learned a lot of things from him. And like I literally was talking about him to my wife. That's weird you say that. I was talking to him the other day, like maybe like a week ago, 2 weeks ago to Britt. And I was like, man, he would have loved you. I would have loved for you to meet him. Yeah. Like he was your quintessential grandpa. Yeah. Like, he got up every day, had the same routine. He went to the bathroom, brushed his teeth. And I still remember being a kid, like, being with him. Combed his hair the exact same way for, as far as I knew, 100 years. Because he never changed. Yeah. Sat at the table, ate the same breakfast. Right. Read the same paper, took the same pills. Yeah. Like, you're just, he was that guy. Yeah. So, like, I remember him as just an organized person. Who I never saw him lose his cool. Yeah. I've never seen him lose his cool. Right. And my grandmother was a pain in the ass. So I don't know how he didn't do that. Yeah. Never lost his cool. He always had the energy to do stuff with me when I was a kid. And like I was energetic and stuff like that. He taught me a lot of things. He showed me the value of hard work. Because we always did things together that was hard work. And he showed me, I guess the biggest thing he showed me was he always had a solution for things. Like, even if you didn't know what you were doing, he would try to show you that there's a way to figure it out. And you figure it out yourself. Right. And we literally, so that's been my mentality my whole life, was always like, I might not know how to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. And I'm probably going to do it myself. I'm probably not going to ask for any help. Right. I never saw my grandfather ask for help. He just knew or figured it out as we went. Right. So, yeah. That's
big, man. And I think about that because with, like, my kids, like, I think about, the things. I think it's natural to think about the things you didn't get. Yeah. And then the things that you wish you had, and then try to implement it the best you can. you and I have had this conversation before with Sal, where it's like, most people, that whole quintessential saying of like, strong men create, weak times or weak men because there's good times, right? And good times create weak men, better yet. So it's one of those things where it's like, I look at it and, I really like, I know the struggles that I grew up with that I didn't love about my father made me, right? So it's how do you incorporate a simulation of that or just extract the principles of it, right? And teach it to your kids and how they remember you and stuff. I think for me, like I've always been the person that like, I used to always care so much about what everybody thought of me. Like I always say I'm a recovering people pleaser, right? Okay. It's my visceral thing. I always it bothers me when people are upset, whatever. Like it's my visceral reaction to things, right? As I've gotten older and like have been through the block, a bunch of times around the block, I stopped caring about it because at the end of the day, there are a few people that really matter to me, right? And those people's opinions and those people, like what they feel, that's it. That's all I care about because I cannot make everybody happy. And I'm not going to. And I don't give a fuck about everybody. But I think when I think about how I want my kids to remember me, I think about, what you said, like, adversity was always at his door and he fucking kicked it down. Like he never shied away from that shit. But then also, like, I'm a partier and I'm always going to be a partier. And that doesn't have to mean drinking, right? I love having a good time. I love enjoying myself, hanging out, having fun with them. That's a big piece of what I want them to remember. Like, oh, he always had a good time. I think when I think about like what success looks like to me, like it's me. I don't know why it's this image, but I think you said it when we were at that lunch with everybody. But it's like me being at Christmas Eve or Christmas, and all my kids and their kids around us, and us having fun. Like, I don't know why I just think of that, but like in my living room or wherever it is, like I just picture that moment. And like, to me, like that's success. Like for my kids, like they want to be around me, dad's having a barbecue, dad's having a party, or dad's like, let's just go hang out with dad and mom because, we'll hang out, we'll chill, we'll talk. Like we can talk about real things. We can laugh, we can have fun. Because I know a lot of people who don't want to be by their parents and resent their parents and like, or like don't want to be around them. So it's like finding that balance of, showing them the difficult times that them actually going through it and then wanting them to be around me. I think that's the key, at least right now. I'm sure this conversation will evolve. This is going to evolve, always does. Right? Like, what do you think is the most difficult part of being a parent and singularly a male parent, I guess we'll say?
And I'll get some flack from this because I get it from my wife for saying this, but like, listen, the hardest job on earth is a stay-at-home mom.
Totally.
Period. Exclamation point. I
times a million.
I'm not arguing that.
No, times a million.
I would say that John and I would not sign up to do it for longer than short shifts. And we would like help from our in-laws or anyone that wants to come help during that time. Please come. Brittany was sick 2 weeks ago, and it was like 26 hours straight of me doing both boys. And I say it in hours because
it's on.
It was it's like war zone for me. I don't have that personality to do that.
Totally.
My wife crushes it. Whatever. No argument that being a stay-at-home mom isn't the hardest job, but what is it like being a parent as a male in today's world? So expectations of our fathers when they were parents was like a dad might have changed. It's like almost like a bragging thing. Like, I only changed 3 diapers through all my kids' life.
Right.
I never changed a diaper.
That's what I always hear.
Yeah, I never changed a diaper. They don't know how to do a nap. They probably don't know how to prep a bottle.
Right.
Like these things, and like the expectation in today's world is like when you have kids is like you are now a team. You're actually a team.
You're doing it. Yeah.
Like I see you, doing things. You'll post it up when you're watching them.
Yep.
And I'm with my boys, and I can do
I'm
all
night
that.
shift Johnny.
Night shift Johnny. Like
bath time.
We have
like
roles.
Bedtime.
You read books. You got and there's nights when it doesn't go well.
Yeah. Me and Johnny will smoke a cigar before bed. Keep it light.
Give him a scotch. Settle him down.
I'm just kidding.
I think the hardest.
For the record, that's a joke. That's a joke.
Don't flag us.
Jack. All of a sudden,
we don't let the children drink. We don't let the children drink or smoke cigars.
No.
The hardest thing, I guess, as a male parent is.
Do you ever feel like you don't want to be doing those things sometimes?
Being a parent?
No. Like for instance, like if you're up all night. Or like if you're like in this scenario where it's like, he's being super fussy or something. You ever find yourself being like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, every once in a while. Like my famous line to Britt is like, "I'm not the mom," and I think I need to stop saying that because that's like a dick comment. Yeah. But I say like, "I'm not the mom. Yeah. This is not my role."
Right.
And I try to balance those roles because I do believe it's a mother's job to nurture a boy.
Yeah.
And it's a father's job to make the boy into a man, and that comes from other things. And like you'll see things where like a boy falls down, a mom goes over and consoles him.
Right.
As a father, if my son falls down, I'll put my hand out. Yeah. I'll help him get up. But you're okay. Get up.
You're fine.
You're gonna fall a lot in your life. Yeah. You're gonna have things that hurt you. You're gonna this, that, whatever.
Right.
So I would say, I would say the hardest thing to be a parent as a male parent, a father, the father figure in the couple, however it is for you guys, and the provider.
Yeah.
So I'm the provider. So I get up in the morning. I try to give my wife time. So my schedule right now, I think, will purely exemplify what I think is complicated. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning.
Yep.
I'm in the gym by 5:15, 5:30. I get an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. I shoot home.
Yeah.
Britt's not sleeping anymore. She's up,
yep.
but she has the morning now to do her thing. I'll get Rocco, bring him down, set him up with a movie and some water and maybe like the beginning of his breakfast. And then a half hour later, I will get Roman up.
What kind of breakfast is he eating? You cooking something, or is it like,
Sometimes. I've organized the mornings where I know if I'm going to be home for a majority of the morning, I can make him something good.
Yeah.
Food was a thing. Like I make sure he eats good things. If the kid eats protein pancakes, protein waffles, eggs, chicken sausages, things like that.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, just throw some Cheerios.
Yeah.
Let him chill.
Yeah.
So I'll give him something that can now, he can now pay attention to that while I go upstairs get Roman. I'll bring Roman down. I'll feed Roman his bottle, and then Britt will come down the stairs. She takes care of the dogs, says hi to the boys, and then she gets to go to the gym. Not that she gets to go, but that's her time.
She goes to
the
gym, right?
She goes to the gym at 8:15, and now she usually doesn't get back till like 10 o'clock.
Right.
Some days then I'll...
She gets 2 hours, you get 1 hour. I'm busting.
Here we go. This is a father parent.
Rob gave me the look. I had to say it. He gave me the look.
So, and then on some days, she has like the next... So she's getting back into her business world, so she's starting to do some stuff. Good. So she'll get like maybe another 2 hours where I'll watch Roman, Rocco will be at my mother-in-law's, whatever. My job is to go to the gym and get the boys ready for the morning.
Yep.
And by 10 o'clock on most days, sometimes 12, I'm now going to work.
Right.
Because, and this is, I think, where as fathers we get frustrated sometimes, and I can see where moms get frustrated too, but I'm not a mom, so I can't have your frustrations. I can only have mine.
Yeah.
I go to work now from 12, and I'm in sales, specifically door to door. So that may be knocking doors for 4 to 6 hours, or running appointments, or And yes, I get to go in the car. Yes, I get to go hang out with adults. I get to have conversations. Maybe stop and grab a coffee on the way out. I get that, and that can be frustrating for a mom who's stuck in the house all day.
Yeah,
but
totally.
It's like
it is difficult. Like you said earlier, it's very difficult.
Not easy.
Yeah.
And then
Rob gets it.
As a dad, you walk in from work,
yeah,
which is a stressful time for us because we're trying to provide for the family,
yep,
and usually chaos has already started,
right,
and you're just being past the kid,
right,
and you kind of pull up. So I guess that's the hardest thing, is trying to not get too frustrated,
right,
with that situation,
yeah,
because that's
you know what, and dude, it's such a good point. I mean, it's so difficult, and no matter, there's always going to be a different school of thought with every different person you ask this question to, or like
yeah,
this topics. But to your point, like you know, when to think, like looking back. So again, I'm night shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the mornings, the funny part is, in the mornings, if I try to, Jack she'll get mad at me because she's like, that's my thing, right? Because she's still working, right? Yep. Obviously, she's doing stuff with us. Obviously, even though it's home, she's still doing all the stuff she's doing. So, you know, but sometimes I'll try to help her. I'll go do stuff. Sometimes she'll be like, you know, she'll bite my head off with the, hey, like the mornings are my thing. You get the nights, like, you know, because he'll be with my mom throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's my time, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. But the thing is, though, is like when you think about like the nights, like it's so crazy to me. Like when you think about your morning, mm-hmm, right? Like I saw a statistic that said there is 30 to 40% more time spent with fathers and sons and their kids, but fathers and kids, than it was with our parents' generation. 40% more time,
yeah,
with kids, right? So when you think about that alone, like if you were to tell your schedule to like your father or his father's father, like, and like, yeah, I get him ready in the morning, I'm making ready, they're like, what?
Yeah.
Why you do what? And it's so funny, but to your point, the world has changed so much that there is so much more involvement. Like again, like I do so much with Jacqueline when I help her. She's also pregnant right now too.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I couldn't imagine not being this involved. And like to your point, like my dad, like I don't know how, like I don't think he ever changed diapers. I'm sure he did once in a blue moon and stuff. But he was up and out of the house at like 5. Like he was out early. He was in construction, but the hands-on stuff, never. Like, never. Like, we weren't getting baths for my dad.
Yeah.
He wasn't feeding us breakfast in the morning. Like, he wasn't like, giving us, like, you know.
He didn't know your cartoons and the songs
nothing.
and sang them with
Zero.
you and stuff. Yeah.
You know? So it was just completely different. But now we live in this new world where it's like, again, like, you go to work at 12.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they would also, like, their head would be spinning if they heard that. 12? I'm, like, on my, like, second lunch by then. You know? So it's, the world has changed so much. I'm to a great extent happy about that because like I truly do enjoy like this is the thing like I was telling my team this like when was it, not last night, the night before. So Johnny just got over being sick with all this type of shit, right?
Yeah.
He had RSV he had RSV, pneumonia, and some other thing I don't even know the name of, right? All at once while he's teething. Molars, right? So this dude was like just a shell of a human. He was not himself, right?
Yeah.
For like a week and a half, right? So he finally gets better. He's back to normal. And of course, it just happened when he just started to walk. So it delayed that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, gets back to normal. Thank God. It's like he's eating again normally,
Yeah.
like doing his normal shit. And then out of nowhere, like 2 nights ago, in the middle of the night, just starts screaming, right? Screaming. So like, now Jack is like the tough one. Jack's like, let him cry it out. He'll be fine. You know, let him, whatever. So I let him cry it out a little bit. But typically we do that. And then he just stops. This time he wasn't stopping. So I went in there. I got in there at like 3. He woke up. I put him down at probably close to like 4, right? Because he was like inconsolable.
Yep. Then
put him in bed. Went back into my bed. Same thing happened. So I was, in a nutshell, I was there from 3 to like 6.
Yeah.
Right? I remember sitting there. I'm like staring at the ceiling because he fell asleep on me. And I'm like, damn, like these are the moments that like, you know, Jack said it to me when we first had him and we were up all night all the time. But she goes, these are the moments that we'll wish we always had back, even as crazy as they are, right? Like when they're older and like they want nothing to do with us, like and we're like, damn, I remember I was holding you in my arms and you were sleeping on me and you felt safe with me because I was there.
Yeah.
Like, damn. So that's my thought now when all those tough things happen, because there's going to be a point where it's like they want nothing to do with us until, you know, because when they're in high school, middle school, they want to be their friends, they want to hang out with people and stuff, they don't want to be home. But that's been my school of thought for the difficult times, you know.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah,
I like that
because we'll never get it back, right? No matter what we do, we'll never get this time back. When they're just these little humans with these little human clothes on,
and
looking so damn cute.
And our jobs allow you and I as fathers to have more of those experiences than most men can.
Oh, dude, I'm about to blow your mind right now. You ready for this? I'm gonna ask you a question.
Sure.
And then don't worry, this is not gonna it's not gonna be incriminating. If we have to delete it, we will in the future. Right? So I saw this thing on TV years ago. It had to be like 7-8 years ago, a while ago. And it was one of these cold case files. Jacqueline loves this shit. I don't even watch TV.
Yeah.
Jack always has this stupid shit on the background. Anyway, there was this one case where this guy and his wife got into an argument. Long story short, they started fighting. She smacked him or some shit, and he wound up like hitting her with something. I don't know what he hit her with, but he killed her, right?
Jesus.
So he killed her.
Okay.
So he calls his dad, and he goes, crying, Dad, you know, I don't know what to do. Me and blah, blah, got into a fight, you know, and I hit her with this thing, and she's not moving, she's not breathing. I don't know what to do. So he's like, all right. He's like, you know, is she, like, how long is this? Like, when did she go out? He's like 15 minutes ago. So, like, obviously she's been not breathing for 15 minutes. She's dead, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's like, all right, look, here's what to do. I'm going to come there, whatever else, and we'll figure it out, right? So long story short, he helped him, like, hide the body, right?
Oh, God.
Right. Because he knew, like, his son would go to jail for the rest of his life, right?
Yeah.
So he called him, Dad, like, I need your help. So long story short, they hide the body, and they're saying that she's missing, right? So they call the cops, like, oh, she's missing, whatever. So long story short, the FBI winds up tracing back calls. I guess they had the call saved somewhere. I don't know how they do that. But they had the call of him calling his dad recorded already, right? So they got it from the telephone company. It's there, right? So heard him say, so now he's a murder accomplice and whatever. So Now they both go to jail for the rest of their lives, right? Now, that said, if you were ever in that position, God forbid, obviously. This is a stupid, this is a scenario to see how far you'd go as a father, right?
Yeah.
Because when I saw that, I'm like, that guy is nuts. But in the moment, I didn't have Johnny. I was just like, damn, like, I was like, I don't know if I would do that or not. Like, that's crazy. Now having Johnny, I'm like, I just couldn't ever imagine. So my question to you is, what would you do in that situation? Boom, one of your kids call you. We're not going to say a name. One of your kids calls you, right? Maybe it's your third that's going to be coming soon. And just kidding.
Nope, hope not.
Hell no. But so what would you do in that scenario? Because it's either A, you hang up and call the cops on him, or B, you help him.
I mean, it's my son. I don't do anything for my son.
Right.
More than likely, I would, as bad as this sounds, and I don't care, that's my son, I would do whatever it takes that he wouldn't go to jail, it'd just be me.
Yeah. Same.
But it's my son.
It's my son.
Now, rewind it back. My son's better not fucking act like that because
well, that's why this is a stupid example.
Because it's my job to show them
that they're not
that
you
way.
Not.
But
you would, yeah.
I would do anything for my sons.
Yeah.
Anything.
So, what about you?
I would probably do the same.
He's calling the cops on Jules. He's Jules get locked up. Rob's
fingerprint.
Rob's like, yo, do I get a reward?
I watch those shows too, and I would know.
I know, yeah.
What's hiding over here?
Yeah, Rob, let's put him in McDonald's parking lot. But anyway, with that said, though, you know, I'm on your school though, right?
Yeah.
But the funny thing though is that so I ever since I remembered this, and now that I have Johnny, I started asking parents this, right? And I think I've asked close to 10 people this question, right? And out of the 10 people, 7 of the dads said what we both just said, right? Obviously, 3 of them didn't. They're like, no way, like, you know, I would never spend the rest of my life in jail because they did that. I didn't do that. So why am I going to jail for the rest of my life? Because he fucked up, right?
Yeah.
Now, every single mother said that they wouldn't do it. That they would 100% not go to jail. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
It's such a, and I'm trying to understand, like, because obviously I'm not a psychologist. I don't know how to do any of that shit. But I asked fucking 10 mothers, and all of them, right, straight up was like, nope, I ain't going to jail for the rest of my life. Like, no way. But majority of the fathers were like, it's my kid. I'm doing whatever I got to do, right? So interesting.
I think it's just as fathers, like, fathers of sons.
Yeah.
We just assume responsibility for the way our son acts.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Because, I mean, what were their example? Like we said earlier, they're watching what we do.
I think it's also, we don't want, so like part of being a man is like you're there to protect the family.
Correct.
And so like from actual physical threats, you know, whatever, right? So like when something like that happens, we're typically the parent that will jump in front of the bus.
Yeah, 100%.
You know? I wouldn't want my wife to do that. Right?
No,
I would prefer me to do that versus her. Right. So like when it boiled down to it, I was like, you know, I would rather that be me anyway. But such a mind fuck.
That is
it's your
crazy.
Kid. It's your kid.
Yeah.
How could you? Because the only way you would not go to jail is if you immediately call the cops right after and say, my son committed a murder.
Yeah, he just called me, blah, blah, blah.
Just whatever.
That's the only way. Because even if you show up at the house and then call, they're still going to be like,
you're an alibi to some extent.
Yeah.
You know? But, dude, deep, right?
That's a mind fuck.
Deep. Fucking deep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm curious. Anybody watching this that is a parent, comment in what you would do. Like, send us a comment on that. Both mom or dad, I want to know what you would do there. It's a mind fuck.
That is a mind fuck.
Yeah. And now we got to raise our kids to never be in that position.
Yeah.
Now, there's this book. Dude, by the way, you gave me a fucking sick book. Thank you. Obviously, the book that you gave me, the one about being like a dad 101 or some shit.
Oh,
and I read that shit thoroughly back to back.
Yes.
Yes, and I appreciate
my best friend passed me that.
Yes, thank you. So my guy got me this book, and literally it gives you like 101 on being a dad, essentially.
I still use it.
I love it. Yeah, so it's a great book. Now, when you think about essentially where you got Roman, who's 4 months.
Correct.
You got Rocco, who's 2 and change.
Two and change, yeah.
Right? Or 97 weeks, whatever.
Whatever people want to say.
Whatever it is. How do you see yourself? Because one of the things that I was actually opened my eyes to this. I was on a podcast, and the dude And it's a podcast called Johnny Drinks. It's with both father and son.
Yeah, I know those guys.
Okay. And his father.
I love those guys.
Yeah,
I don't know them.
Yeah. And his father I was asking him, like, what would you do differently, with Johnny, right, his son? And he's like, you know what? He goes, I was his coach. And I'm a big sports guy. He goes, I was his coach. He goes, I'm intense. And he goes, I'll never forget, one day, my wife comes home from football, and she goes, you were fired. Because he was the head coach. She goes, you're fired. And he's like, what are you talking about? And they were all about to go to the VFW and hang out after, like, the coaches and stuff after games. And she goes, go tell everybody at the bar that today's your last day. You're done being a coach. And he's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, Johnny does not want to play football anymore because of you. Mm-hmm. And he said the one thing that he wishes that he could do again, right, if you do it over, was that he was so intense with his son and being the coach that he wanted his son to be him and whatever he wanted, and didn't want to be there to just see his son become who he's supposed to become. Mm-hmm. Like, as an example, he was like, Johnny, would want to play video games. And I'd be like, get your ass outside and throw the football around. Like, let's go. We're going right now. We're going to play football. We're going to play basketball, whatever. And like he said, ultimately what I've learned is that all of the things that I didn't want, like I wanted him to become, no matter what I did, he still became who he was. Mm-hmm. The only difference between that and what I wanted was that it made our relationship strained because I wanted him to become something that I wanted him to become. But regardless, he triumphed and became who he wanted to become anyway, mm-hmm. right? So in those school of thoughts, like, how do you see yourself being like that? Because obviously, like, your kids are going to be in sports, right?
So I hope so. Otherwise, they'd be really big musicians.
Right, the best fucking Ed Sheerans out there.
And they're enormous. So.
Right. So, but with that said, how do you plan to do that? Because I guess one of the things that I think about is, like, when he told me, I was like, damn, our kids are going to become who they're going to become. It's our job to help them just become the best version of that, mm-hmm. right? How do you see that playing out for you?
I'll never coach them.
Yeah.
Refuse.
Yeah. Well, you're an athlete.
Yeah, I play college baseball.
Yeah, you're an athlete.
So I play college baseball, high level. Yeah. A lot of buddies that made it further. I'll never coach my kids.
Yeah.
Ever.
Right.
I told my wife that from day one. She kind of said, good. I won't do it because when you're coaching, and someone in the comments is going to be upset about this because of the culture we live in today. Yeah. When you're coaching, the only thing that matters is if you're winning.
Totally. I mean, but realistically, that's the truth.
The coach's job is to win.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not to get everybody in the game. It's not
right.
to give everyone an experience.
Right.
It's not that.
Right.
Coach's job is to win.
Yeah.
My job as a parent is to help my child win in life at whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But if I'm coaching him in something,
yeah.
I'm forced to put pressure on him to win when maybe that's not the situation that, as a parent, that calls for. So it's like conflicting paradigms there.
Correct, right, and that's what this essentially guy was saying.
I am going to get up every single day at 4:30 in the morning.
Yep.
And I'm going to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to eat the same breakfast I eat every single day, and I'm going to keep myself in really, really good shape. And I'm going to show them the type of relationship I have with their mother because I'm still in good shape and I'm not some slob sitting on the couch.
Huge, yes.
And we're going to watch sports together, and I'm going to introduce them to some of my friends that have played sports or been at the pro level in different things because they kind of watch sports with me now. And I'm going to hope, I'm never going to force it. I'll enroll them in sports like soccer. Rocco's already doing soccer. And
isn't it? They have it that young too?
They have Point does like the soccer shots. So they just,
cool. Okay.
Whatever.
Keep busy.
I want them to ask. Hey, Dad, can I come to the gym with you tomorrow morning?
Right.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But the rule is...
But you have to open up the door for the invite. Like, hey, if you ever want to come with me.
Nope. I want them to ask. But the rule is this. And I have the same rule with my wife because if you're going to ask me to do something with me and you're going to commit to it, you need to 100% commit.
Yeah.
Don't waste my time.
Right.
Don't waste your time.
Right.
If you don't want to do it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do it, commit to it.
Yeah.
So like right now, Brittany's on her journey after having a kid, so that postpartum, like wanting to get in really, really good shape and getting back into business and stuff like that. So like she literally for the first time in us being together in 8 years, has come to me for exercise and nutrition advice. So I wrote her a meal plan, and I tell her what workouts to do, and I go to the gym with her once a week, and we work out together, and we have one of the best relationships we've ever had because we kind of implemented those things into our lives.
Right.
So I guess it would be, I never coach my sons.
Yep.
But and I live the example that I want them to be.
Yeah.
And like I always joke around my wife, and the reason I keep myself in such good shape is because I just know that they're going to be really, really good athletes. Are going to be very athletically inclined.
Yeah.
So I got to make sure I can beat them until I'm at least 50.
Yeah. You got to be crushing them.
I gotta stay in that kind of shape. So I guess, just be an example, and then just be excited for them and whatever they want to do. Yeah. Even if I don't know what it is, and I'll be straight up with them, like, I have no fucking clue how to help you in that world, but like, let's do it together.
Yeah. Dude, I think what you said, you hit the nail on something so that resonates so well with me. And I think I said this to Jack, and I said this to a couple people, but you know, it's so important that you like, I want them to find the right spouse.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing, I don't think anything more important than that. And so based on what you said, like, I want my sons to be able to see how I treat my wife and like how she is with me, and how she's like literally like the love of my life, but also my partner in crime, obviously. And then on the girl side, like, you know, how I treat, so that she knows how she needs to be treated, right? And not just like, oh, whatever. Because at the end of the day, if they have a good partner, like everything, the most complicated things in life that happen, if you're with a good partner, you're in a good situation, right? You lose your job, this happens, that happens, this person dies, or whatever. You know, it's like, you know, like that they're going to pass the torch on and keep everything going the way it needs to be going. Whereas, again, the divorce rate now in America is like over 70%, right? It's like up there. So it's one of those things where it's like, if we're showing our boys how, like, you know, you're supposed to treat and what you should be looking for in a partner. So I said to Jacqueline, and she said it too, but it's like, you have to show them, like, you know, how they need a woman, not a girl, a woman. You know, because dude, without Jack, and like you said, you know, without Brittany in your case, you know, they make us better.
Oh yeah.
Like, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I was a shell of myself before I met her 8 years ago. In the last 8 years, I've done more and accomplished more in my life than I did for the first 26 years before I met her.
Totally.
So I think the most important thing is, like, I just want my sons to see that, like, I'm obsessed with their mother.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big component of that too. I think we live in a world today when there's...
Besides those 2 hours when she's at the gym. We ain't happy about that.
No, we gotta figure that out. So with social media and these, like, the over-sexualization of women at this point, and how it's so easily accessed by younger men and older men or whatever, whoever is using that kind of thing, it's blurred the lines of, like, what a healthy relationship between, like, a husband and wife is supposed to be, and like how even not even a husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, or your, like, interests, like, that's, like, I want my boys to know that, like, that programming that's going on is on purpose. That programming is to derail this masculinity and this, like, partnership, marriage, like what it's supposed to be. It's trying to derail that off.
Right.
And when you derail that from society and you remove that from, like, a man's life, men stop being the men that they were. Testosterone levels drop.
Right.
You know, this toxic masculinity starts to exist, because toxic masculinity, in my opinion, does exist. It's not the way it's always portrayed.
Yeah.
It's usually a passive-aggressive male that doesn't have those real stoicism and general characteristics. But, like, I want my boys to see that, like, you find a woman that makes you better, be obsessed with her. She will be everything you need in a person. Right. On, you know, both ends. And your life just is better.
100%.
And then they'll find it, and they'll see it, and they'll know what it's supposed to be and what it's supposed to be like. Yeah. That's it.
I'll never forget the time. I mean, I knew Jack was the one the fucking second I met her. But the time it really, like, it solidified it for me was, I had a pretty big business accomplishment years and years ago, and I was super excited about it. And I went to her and I talked to her about it, and she's like, "That's it?" And I was like, squished me, right? I was like, damn. Like, but she always wants me to want more and to do better. Like, and that's the thing. It's like, I think whatever it is that, as you know, whether it's a guy, girl, you know, whoever the perspective, if it's a woman who has a partner, it's a guy, or vice versa, whatever the situation is, your spouse, your partner, if they want you to continuously grow and be better, that's to me the biggest sign of a healthy situation. Because the thing is, when I look at all these divorced people or people who aren't happy or just coexisting, it's like they don't give a shit about anything related to growth. They only care about doing the day-to-day bullshit, right? Like, I got to get up, I got to get the kid up, I got to go to work, you got to go to work. And there's zero time for date night. There's zero time for romance. There's zero time for wanting to grow in each other's careers. It's only about just existing. And that's so boring and vanilla, and that's how most of the world lives. And I couldn't imagine it, right? I couldn't imagine it, But this has been a fucking phenomenal pod. I'm stoked that we had to talk about parenthood, right? Like, there's so many people listening in that are parents that have multiple kids or one kid, and they're running a business, or they're in a high-performing sales job or whatever. Yeah. And they don't have anybody to talk to about this stuff, right? Because, like, they're home. Like, they're not going to bitch about their wives to their wives, or they're not going to complain about the things that bother them, or they're not going to talk about the real shit, right? Yeah. That people that, that they just hold inside. Most men, like you said, they're not checking, how you doing? How are you? Like, it's not mostly about that for the guy side, right? And so I'm glad we had to do that and hopefully inspire some of the dads out there, right, that got their stuff going on. Yeah. Because, dude, being a parent is, in my opinion, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. But it has its challenges, and it's supposed to. It's not supposed to be easy. Yeah. But it's like business, right? It's like not supposed to be easy. So that's why, like, I'm like, let's take the bull by the horns, let's go. But for people who aren't business owners, or people who run businesses and they're just like normal people that like are, in a normal job, and then you take on this one thing that needs all of your attention. All of it. Every ounce of it. That's like they're designed to like be 100% of whoever's attention they're in front of. And sometimes it's not easy to do that when you don't have leadership training or business training or whatever else. It's just, dealing with things that are really tough. Like you throwing your hands up the other night, like that's probably such a regular thing for so many people. It has to be. It has to be. It has to be. So I think, us talking about our own challenges, making it normal, right? Yeah, like normalizing it. It's like it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm glad that we had you on, man. And again, people that are listening, if they want to go give you a follow, where can they find you?
My name, Joe Marchitelli. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok.
Joe.
Growing into the TikTok space right now. Okay. Growing slowly, but we're getting there. We post a lot about our lives. My wife's pretty funny with it. She'll post up some good things about it. But I'm glad we were able to connect on this, and I don't even feel like we've scratched the surface of what's going on. And I think it's cool that you and I are in different times of our life, have experienced similarities, and then even you coming into having a second round of kids. I had my second round of kid, but it was only one. Right. You're having a second round, and it's two. Like, there's going to be so many more experiences that don't match, right, but are similar. Right. And it's just, I think that what I would like to leave everybody with is this, that I've seen this a million times. It's only hard being a parent when you're a good parent.
Facts. Oh, dude, I fucking heard Jacqueline just said that to me recently. I was like, ooh.
Remember that. If it's hard, that means you're a good parent. Yeah. It's supposed to be. It's inconvenient and challenging and frustrating and all of those things at the same time. Right. But that means that you're involved.
That means you care.
That means you care. It means you're a good parent. So if you're feeling like it's difficult, that means you're a really good parent and great job.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's such a good way to leave it. And the one thing I'll say to even just like piggyback on that is, when I grew up, my mom always used to say to me, like, if you're new to something, don't half-ass it, right? Yeah, but there's times in our lives where there will be a moment to do that, right? Like, it's like, oh, like, do I want to cut the grass today or whatever? I don't know, like silly things. It's like, I'll do it later. I don't need to do it right now, right? But the one thing that I feel like in business, there's two things that I'll never compromise quality on, and that's my family and business. And kids are like circled, underlined, and bolded when it comes to the family side of that. And I think a lot of times we like let things that are hard get in the way of us just being the best that we can be for them. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like I've, every year for probably close to like 5 or 6 years, my family and I will go to like retirement homes around the holidays. And we'll give out like flowers to people who like don't, and we'll talk to them, people who don't have anybody to come visit them. Like they'll give us like a list, like, go to this room, go to this room. And over the past couple of years that I've been doing that, like I'm very inquisitive. Like I want to be like, what would you do differently? Like I'll be like this. One of these ladies I'll never forget. This lady was like the Squidward of the thing. Like she was just so fucking like she was pissed we were there. Didn't want us to be there. Take your flower, shove it up your ass, like that type of lady. And whatever, who knows what she went through, right? But anyway, so I'm having a conversation with her, and she wants us out. So my cousin leaves, and like I'm still there, and my siblings leave, and I'm just like, hey, I'm like, can I ask you just one question? And she's like, I told you to leave, no. And I was like, listen, I was like, I wanna live a good life. Like, what would you do differently? And she goes, if I tell you we leave, I was like, yeah. She goes, I would have spent better time with my kids. And she told me to get the fuck out. But I think for me, but even though that was really abrupt, almost every single person that I've spoken to over the past couple of years, and at this point probably around 100, I would say 90% of what they say is that they didn't get the time they wanted with their kids, or they didn't give it all, they missed the game, or they did this or whatever, they're hard. And then I always, I heard this a couple of years back, and then now I'm seeing it everywhere on social media, but this one lady said to me, she goes, not everybody goes home to love, right? Mm-hmm. So make sure your kids treat everybody with respect, and they're not, a-holes. And that means you too. She goes, most parents, she goes, my biggest regret as a parent was she had a bunch of kids. She's like, I woke up every morning, things were chaotic, it was crazy. I'd be fighting with my husband. The kids were yelling at the kids, get ready, go do this. And they leave the house on that note. Yeah, parents yelling at them, parents fighting with each other, things being chaotic. Not like have a great day. Like I want you to have a great day, whatever. And then obviously in most cases at nighttime, things would be crazy, whatever else, because we had a family and we had whatever else. So they would go to bed seeing their parents fighting, or go to bed with chaos and wake up with chaos and be sent off to school with chaos. Yeah. And it's like that to me just like fucking implanted in my head, where it's like, dude, like make sure that like so my point is to the people who are watching this is just to make sure that like you really do not compromise your quality of time and how you're raising your kids. And I'll give this credit to my father-in-law. When I asked him for, to marry his daughter, went through a lot of stuff. One of the things he said to me, he goes, no matter how hard it is, you raise your kids right the first time, you won't have a big kid for the rest of your life. If you don't, you'll be having a big child for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. 40, 50, whatever. They'll still be calling you for money. They'll still be needing to do this. They'll still be living home with you. They'll still be mooching off you. They'll be getting in trouble. All this other stuff. But if you raise them right the first time, then you're going to have a big kid. And I always remember him saying that, and it's like, it comes down to just being there and being quality.
Yeah. I agree.
But Joe, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Good seeing you.
You too, man.
Bam.
What's up, everybody? So, after that episode with John right there, really, one, solidified why John and I are good friends, because we're on the same page where a lot of things when it comes to parenting and raising kids and business and things like that, which is great to find some like-minded people. But also that, like, it's not perfect. It's chaos. There are times when you just feel like it's going to be so difficult to get through, and it can be really hard for you, but it's hard for a lot of people, and a lot of parents have those struggles, but we all make it through. And the way we make it through is, having a good partner at home, your spouse, and making sure that you don't compromise on your own goals and things along the way, because your kids are watching you. And you want them to see you achieve everything in life, because it'll make them want to achieve just as much as they can.